1995. I was in the 8th grade. And one weekend afternoon, I walked into the American Eagle store. I looked over at the new arrivals rack, and I saw a short-sleeve, button-down shirt, and I knew immediately, that's the one. Even from a distance, I could readily appreciate how the browns of the shirt suggested kind of a Counting Crows earthiness with a Nirvana-inspired rebellion. Even as on my 6 CD changer back home queued up right at that moment, I had a music ranging from Chicago to the Jackson 5 to Shania Twain. But like I said, it only suggested kind of an earthy rebellion. As I got closer, I noticed that the shirt had a plaid design to it. So yes, grunge, but also structure, order, predictability. I took some of the fabric between my fingers, a light, airy quality, kind of a seersucker material. And so yes, earthy, but kind of a dapperness, a refinement even. In the 8th grade, I could have barely given you more than the dictionary definition of paradox. But I readily intuited all the ways that shirt captured so much of the complexity of who I wanted to be. In the 8th grade, I was painfully shy. I rarely spoke up for fear of saying the wrong thing and being forever shunned. That shirt was my voice. And with a vocal range from grunge to refined, that was my ticket unto acceptability to a wide swath of social groups. Really, there was only one question: medium or large? I took the medium and the large into the dressing room. I put on the medium. All right. If you can imagine Boys to Men and Alanis Morissette touring together, they come back on stage for their encore song where they're just going to bring it home. I was wearing that song. It was surprisingly good. Okay. But then I looked in the mirror a little more and I wondered, is it enough? Y'all remember the mid-90s was the era of the oversized baggy look? Who can forget the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air pulling off the classic oversized plaids and polos of that day? And at least back then, who didn't want to glide into a room like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I did a couple glides in the mirror to watch how the medium swayed. Okay. I switched out, went for the large. Was it too much? When I held my arms parallel to my shoulders, the sleeves dipped to such a degree that you could realistically slide 2 baseball bats parallel to my arm into the sleeve. I was essentially wearing a large brown cloth with just enough contour to where someone would have to say, technically, it is a shirt on that boy. No matter. I spent the next 20 minutes pacing the American Eagle store with one single question, pressing me into a continual angst: medium or large? Which one was going to give voice most fully to all that I wanted to be? Do y'all know that a couple smaller clothing brands in recent years have started selling the Marge size? Have you heard of this? So they sell a medium shirt. And they sell a large shirt, but they also sell a shirt in between a medium and a large called the Marge. Brilliant! Why hadn't the fashion genius who married medium and large been born 20 years earlier? I promise you that would have given my teenage self countless hours of indecision back. Marge was the promised land. Marge was the promised land between a shirt that's fine for the church family photo and a rebel without a cause. Marge was that carefully crafted space of cool but not too cool, fun but not too wild. I longed for Marge without knowing Marge by name. The whole decision hinged on getting as close to Marge as possible. I made my decision. I went to the counter, pulled out $30, as much as I'd ever paid for a shirt. But then could you really put a price on all those threads would soon declare? Great shirt, the American Eagle clerk said as she folded it and placed it in the bag. I hope so. Medium it was. Medium it would be. Was it enough? Well, the next day, I had my good friend Luke Martin over to my house. We're in my room. My mom peeks in and says, "Boys, we're going out for a family dinner. Luke, you're invited. The restaurant we're going to, it's casual nice." I could literally hear the American Eagle shirt singing from within my closet. It was made for casual nice, and also grunge refined, and Portland Charleston, and garage band golf, and any nearly unheard of combination you can imagine. That's how good the shirt was. I start buttoning it up in the mirror, and I know the only lingering question is, was medium enough? And soon, the wide world, by way of their reaction, is going to let me know. Except Luke Martin. Luke Martin was a fun, gregarious friend who loved to watch WWF wrestling. Luke was bigger than me, and sometimes without warning, completely out of the blue, he would like to try out on me pile drives and body slams and arm twists. And as I finished the final button in the mirror, I could see behind me his WWF wrestling energy starting to rev through his body. And I knew I could not risk a body contortion that twisted the vocals of the greatest shirt on earth. I dashed to my right. He lunged after me. I escaped his grasp, but apparently, in the mid-90s, even a medium still has a good bit of excess fabric. He was able to grab the tail end of my shirt and pull. There are certain sounds in this world that you never forget. The cry of your first newborn. The deflated moan of the crowd as you stand at home plate. Bases loaded, need just one run to win. You strike out. I shall never forget the sound. The zip-like sound of those complex threads being torn straight up my back. Luke! I yelled, finding a voice of frustration and anger and clarity even I didn't know I had. Where'd that voice come from? It ached, it grieved, it demanded, it stood. But one syllable, it blanketed the entire room. Luke apparently knew nothing of this voice either. He let go. Oh, hey, man, I'm sorry. His voice softened. He meant it. He even offered to give me money to buy a new shirt. I took him up on it. I said, thanks. I mean, it's new. And I really like it. That night in the restaurant, I wore a green polo that made me look like a 7th grader. It was devastating. But I could tell something had changed. Something had shifted. Something had been discovered. Even without the greatest shirt on earth, I could tell that night somehow I was less of a child. And no, not a full, competent adult, but somehow much closer to that for having begun to find a voice, not by way of the shirt, but by learning how to say what I wanted. It felt big. The next week, I was back at the American Eagle store with the $30 that Luke had given me. Went straight to that new arrivals rack, felt that earthy sophistication again, took the shirt over to the counter. Great shirt, the American Eagle clerk said. She folded it, placed it in the bag. I hope so. Large it was. Large it would be. Thank you.